Welcome back to
Mystic Rebels.
the Mystic
Podcast. Thank you so much for being here. Sorry. Go ahead, baby.
I can't.
Seriously. Just open up your mouth and talk. It's okay.
I can't. What's going on?
Everything.
Today we're talking about
Aliens.
aliens. Yes. We're talking about aliens. This was a request from
Yes, it
our
was.
Vibe Tribe for us to talk about aliens and see what our viewpoints on this topic. So, what do you have to say about aliens? I mean, you have. That's a skull.
That's a skull,
Never
baby.
mind.
Yeah, it's not the same. So my obsession with aliens. And
Oh, you're obsessed. I was going to ask, do you believe in them? But you're obsessed. so
I'm not
go
obsessed
on.
anymore. I went down the rabbit hole many, many years ago. When I was about 8 years old, my sister watched a movie called The Fire in the Sky or Fire in the Sky. It's supposedly a true story, based on a true story, about a man who was a firefighter, and he was out in the middle of nowhere fighting fires. And
By himself.
no, with a crew, but they were spread out in this field, and he was abducted by aliens. And the great thing about that movie is it's wonderfully visual. So you get to see the things he went through and the prodding and the probing. And
Was it like X-rated?
no, it wasn't X-rated, but it was scary. Like it was, they basically allude to the things that happen. But when you're 8 years old and you have, like me, Mercury in Pisces, you don't need help with your imagination.
Do you believe people are abducted?
I believe that this man thought that he was. I believe that there may be genuine experiences, but I don't know.
Hard to wrap your head around it, right?
Yeah, for me, it just scared the shit out of me. Like I also watched, because I have Sun in the 8th, so anything kind of taboo or creepy, I was like, I gotta watch it so that I'm not scared anymore. And that never worked. Instead, it just put more stuff into my head that I, like, as a mom, I'm like, I really wish I'd never known that. I wish I'd never Googled like most disturbing movie ever. But there was that movie.
No, what is it?
Oh God, why? But there was that movie, and then I started watching the X-Files and started watching. My sister loved like the investigation shows, and some of it was aliens. And at that time, you didn't realize that it was entertainment, that it was made up, or at least
stories.
Yeah, they were stories.
Yeah.
But it scared the crap out of me, and so I would like tape my window closed, and my bed faced my window as a kid, and I was just so scared.
It makes sense. Not an alien, but when I was younger, I wasn't even that young. I was probably like 12 when I saw Chucky, not an alien.
Oh, I never saw Chucky. I saw the preview and needed therapy.
And there's a scene in there, and I don't remember it that vividly, thank God. But basically, the person's feet are on the floor. Chucky's under the bed with a knife and slices the Achilles heels of the ankles.
That's not Chucky. That is Pet Cemetery.
Oh, that is Pet Cemetery?
That's Pet Cemetery.
Either way, scared the crap out of me.
Are those your feet?
That's my feet.
Hi, baby.
Hi. You playing footsies?
I'm playing footsies.
Whatever that was.
Yeah,
scared the crap out of me. And for like a good year and a half, I couldn't, like, I had to pick my feet up on the bed and put my shoes and socks on like that. And I was not that young.
Poltergeist disturbed me so much that I like had to make sure, even to this day, I don't like that our closet door doesn't close in our bedroom.
I don't like it either.
And like I try not to look in the dark because I see shadow people, and I see. Thankfully, I don't see any like orbs. Like
in the last house we did.
Yes.
And that
that was scary. But I feel more safe in this house than worlds more.
Absolutely.
But like I think that when it comes to abductions, I think that fear can be a powerful instigator.
Why do you think so many people have a very similar experience? Because we're basically both saying we don't really believe it happened, but they believe it happened. So why do you think it's so consistent?
Well, I remember when I was young having sort of out-of-body experiences. And I think that like there's sleep paralysis. I'm sure you can tell.
I have a story about that actually.
Or just seeing things. Like I woke up and at the edge of my bed, there was like a golden light and there were these little tiny voices that sounded menacing. And I got up out of bed, and it could have been in a dream, but it was pretty real. And I saw these little creatures like playing with gold at the end of my bed. And I was just like, what the fuck? And then they heard me and turned around, and I was like, nope, I'm going back to sleep. And it never happened again. But it's almost like...
it was
nothing compared to what you experienced.
Between 7 and 9 years old, I think I was. Because I was adopted by that point. And anyway, I was in my room, and I was definitely awake for this. And I saw, I want to say it was 3. It could have been 4, but at least 3 shadow figures, but they were definitely shaped like I would imagine an alien would look like.
Yeah.
And one of them had its hand in my chest, like actually inside my chest. And I couldn't scream. I was paralyzed, sleep paralysis, but I was awake for it.
Yeah.
I couldn't scream. I tried to scream for my mom. She was right next door,
baby,
in the room next door. And like it wasn't painful or anything. I was just scared.
Yeah.
Just fear. I had no idea what was going on.
And at the same time, it's like if that was a real experience for me, if those were aliens, like...
Right, that's it, right?
You never know.
But what's the whole thing, and they have their hand in my chest, and I don't know what happened, and eventually it all went away.
Yeah.
And after they went away, I still couldn't scream.
Yeah.
And I couldn't move. And like tears coming down my cheek and everything.
Yeah.
But like, what's the probing part about?
Right?
Like, is that, do you think that's psychological trauma that's coming through this experience?
It could be. I think the fear of abduction, it goes to like being in a completely foreign place, having absolutely no power and no one to communicate with. You're basically just a piece of cattle, you know?
But why the sexual part?
I think that if you're going to be victimized, like that is the highest level of victimization, like to feel degraded.
I haven't actually looked into it. Do you think that most of these people who have said they've been abducted and sexually, do you think they're mostly religious people? Because I know that psychologically speaking, a lot of people who are more into restricting religions like Catholicism and whatnot, that they also suppress sexuality, like hardcore. And then sexuality being suppressed and then being imaginary lived through this type of experience would actually make sense.
That's a really interesting point. People have different experiences on certain drugs. I've never done psychotropics, but I understand that depending upon your mental state, you can either have like a transcendent, lovely experience where, when you do ayahuasca, Mother Gaia comes to you and holds you and gives you all the love that you've never felt in your life. And it's like 10 years of therapy. And then for other people, they're like, I almost fucking died. I was in hell, And I think that your own psychology and your own conditioning have a lot to do with the experience.
Yeah, that's what I'm getting at.
Yeah.
That conditioning there, because that's a huge, when we do tarot readings, I do astrology readings, and you do, when we do all kinds of healing practice with people, a lot of it comes down to
the psychological, the conditioning,
and the sexual
mental state. Yeah.
The lack of, or the suppressed sexual nature of people.
Or just the misunderstanding of...
Or the lack of connection.
Yeah. I think also, like, we have people who are also, like, light code people who decipher the language of aliens. There are people here who believe that they are aliens, and they've never experienced the negative aspect of it. Like, they've had beautiful experiences where I was watching a podcast recently, the Blue podcast. She's relatively famous, but she had a woman on there who claims to speak alien and speak to aliens, and she's had
one language.
She didn't speak it, but apparently she can decipher the language. And
one language for all aliens?
It's called light codes.
For all aliens?
Yeah, I know. Like,
how many languages do we have on this planet?
How many planets are out there? How many universes?
I'm just being my normal, critical, cynical self.
I totally get it. And there's a couple people who say that they speak to aliens. And there's been people who have had really spiritual experiences saying that they've been approached by blue people and what could have been considered alien, but it didn't scare them at all. You know, it's interesting.
You know, when you talk back to religious people, that they say that they were approached by Jesus or they were approached by God. Mm-hmm. And I'm always like...
Well, I mean, it's quite possible. But what, like, when I teach people how to contact their spirit guides, I also tell them that your spirit guides will speak in your voice. They're not going to have elaborate voices, you know.
Yeah, we talked about this. Like, that's right. I compared it to the Speed Force in the Flash TV show.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
How they all came to him as members of his family.
As something familiar. Absolutely. And, you know, their voices can be a little different, but they're not like... Hi, my name's you know, it's yeah, and the voice of God, booming voice, you know, that's...
So Morgan Freeman.
Did that sound like Morgan Freeman?
No, he's the voice of God, right? Isn't he?
Like, right, I used to think that Morgan Freeman was
we can't
shit. Yeah.
He's still very talented.
No question. But I haven't seen him in anything in a very long time.
You know, the politics can't askew us.
Yes.
Which is very difficult in this age.
But sorry, baby. I was just going to say, when it comes to aliens, like there is a movie, it's called The Fourth Kind, that I watched years ago. And it was with Mila Jovovich. And I have to say it like that. And it was like a faux documentary, but not a mockumentary. It was a very like immersive sort of film where it was based on a true story in Nome, Alaska, which is a very remote town.
Sounds like it.
Alaska, yeah. It's like my hell.
Yeah,
no, thank you.
Cool. I left Maryland.
You take a ferry and you take a boat and a plane, like a tiny plane to get there.
Not interested.
Nope, thank you. We'll just look at pictures. But the entire town, well, not the entire town, but quite a few people in that town had very similar alien abduction experiences that the therapist helped them work through with her therapy. And then she started remembering her own experiences. So there is, in many historical cases where in a town there's been like a witch hunt and people have said that they were victimized by somebody, and it's very possible that they were. But then other people hear the story and then they start applying their story to their life.
It's kind of like what they do with, is it CIA or FBI or whatever, where they do that to children sometimes, where they'll implant things,
even suggesting it.
Yeah.
And she did do hypnosis, but she was a therapist doing hypnosis.
I would imagine if you're that far removed from society for that long, you become extremely susceptible to a lot of things.
Yeah, and they also have like the sun 24 hours a day, so you know.
Yeah, sometimes,
throughout the year.
So your circadian rhythm is non-existent.
Yeah, and I think
it's a tough type of lifestyle
to choose
to live.
I don't know.
I don't know either. I just I can only fathom.
I don't want people to watch this and be like, "Fuck you! I had my experience and it was real." It's like if it was real for you,
and just like
was
the Jesus
traumatic.
thing, I know a lot of people truly believe that Christ came to them with whatever message.
You always go back to religion. I get it.
I mean, we know from previous podcasts that I have my issues with religion.
We know you have your issues.
And my issues.
But I mean, it is a fair comparison because with aliens, it is a religious thing. Like these people saying,
right, that's what I mean.
We're ascending to the fifth dimension and soon we're going to be able to, you know, interact with aliens and aliens are coming. And, you know, the government keeps saying things like, well, that we have footage and you see these videos on social media and I'm just like, well, that's fake. And
like
people
the one
don't want to believe it.
They don't. Some of my buddies don't want to believe that it's fake. Like the Navy leaked.
Yeah.
The chasing the spacecraft.
Shit doesn't get leaked unless it's on purpose or unless it's just a lie.
Right. But the video, I looked at the video and I
every
just kept
sex
watching
tape that's ever been leaked was done on purpose. Please.
But I looked at the video where the Navy supposedly leaked this, the plane chasing after this UFO, and the UFO is
it's like
making
a little
maneuvers.
speck.
Yeah, but it's clearly,
defying the laws of physics.
It's clearly either a speck, a smudge, or a bug on the lens.
Or I mean, like you could do the same thing with Atari back in the day. I mean, it could be.
Well, the thing is, it never
digital.
left the scope.
Okay.
So clearly, it's attached to. It's static.
Yeah.
The only thing that's moving is the plane. But
they always say it defies the laws of physics. And I was watching Joe Rogan, and I can't remember the guy he was talking to, but he was making a case against aliens and against anyone who says, it defies the laws of physics. He's like, do you know physics? Like, can I talk to a physicist or, somebody who actually understands the laws of physics and hear that?
Physics is based
verified.
off of the planet. It's based off of the conditions of where we are. So something can't come here and defy the laws here. Well,
and the maneuvering capabilities, like most people haven't been exposed to what they can do in a small plane, or
a gyro or anything like that.
But here's the thing, Roswell, like the supposed 1950s, 1954, I think it was.
1948 or something.
You're just making up numbers now.
No, I thought it was right before that, but regardless.
Yeah. Now you got to Google it.
I got to Google it, but keep talking. I'm going to figure out the year real quick.
Well, supposedly
everybody who's listening is like, I know
a flying saucer went down in Roswell, New Mexico. And I love that the older stories show like a very stereotypical
1947.
1947. Oh,
I was 1 year off.
Oh my gosh.
Thought it was just before. Okay, go ahead.
Okay. And the depictions or the images of what it would look like today are completely more advanced. It's like if they were advanced back then, why? I mean, unless they got like a Tesla on their own planet that's like let's cut the wheels off.
Perfect segue to this point. Right here.
Okay.
All right. If an alien race.
Yeah.
And first off, if I were to believe an alien race, it would not be one. But let's say there were.
Yep.
Let's say there was one for sake of argument. And they could travel through the cosmos at light speed. Or warp speed, or whatever you want to call it.
Why the hell did they come here?
What the hell do they care about us for?
They need our resources.
If they needed our resources, they would have taken our resources.
Right.
They're here to teach us. Teach us what?
Yeah, teach us by probing us.
Living on the other side of the moon? Like, none of it makes any sense. What's the why?
Like, I imagine if the aliens do mess with us, it's like, how kids go cow tipping when they're teenagers?
Right.
Or they just mess up mailboxes. Like, they don't know that our anuses are so tender.
Wow.
And like that mom's dad, like, did you take the spaceship last night? Not cool.
Right. Yeah, exactly. Right. Or just if they could, and supposedly they don't talk. Everything's like telepathy, right? So they can speak to you in their mind. So why do they need to come here? What was that movie that
we saw?
Is their range like Motorola level, like Sprint? Just like I got to be this close to be able to do it.
What was that movie we saw a few years ago where she gets a download basically from this alien race?
Oh God, the politically infused one that shows the New World Order at the end.
Is that what it was?
Mm-hmm. That was Amy Adams.
Yeah.
It was called Arrival.
Okay. And I remember the soundtrack. You and I were in the theater and it moves so slow.
It was a garbage movie.
I didn't hate it, but I like art house movies. But it was very interesting that they would only speak to her. Only she could learn to decipher the language. And it was just this very like wispy language that was made of ether. And
right. And they were, giant octopuses or whatever?
Yeah.
Octopi.
I remember seeing one of my favorite alien movies, or it's just a great movie.
E.T.
No, actually. E.T. scared the crap out of me back in the day. But so did, oh my gosh, Will Smith.
Independence
Jeff
Day.
Goldblum. Yes.
That's
Independence
my favorite
Day.
movie. My buddy and I used to watch that after school every day for about a year.
And then would you guys be like, oh, careful, we don't, what do you say?
No, we really liked, oh God, what's that guy's name? I can't remember his name. He was a secondary. David!
Oh, yes.
David, we have a problem here.
Why did I send my mother to Atlanta? Yeah. I love him. Oh my God. Everybody needs a friend like that just any situation sounds dire.
Right. I gotta call my mother.
Oh my God.
Oh my God. Oh my God.
Oh God, what's his name?
I can't remember his name.
Brilliant actor, Broadway star. And he was also in Mrs. Doubtfire. Matchmaker,
yes.
make me a match. Like, what about Joan Collins? Oh, I don't think I have the strength, but I have some plaster. But in that movie, the aliens, I had to leave the theater because I think I was like 8 or 9, and it just scared the crap out of me. But out of nowhere, they're like these huge...
The huge heads.
Yeah, and it's like the octopi type creature. You
Not
remember?
in that movie.
Well, they had the tentacles.
Oh,
They had
that's
the
right.
tentacles.
They had the
and
tentacles.
then they wrap it around
yeah.
his neck, and you're like, what do you want us to do?
Die.
Like, oh shit, okay.
Peace.
Nuke the bastards.
No.
Nuke them.
Peace.
No peace. Great freaking movie. But that scared the shit out of me.
Is that
And then
glass
you have
bulletproof?
all these
No, sir.
you have all these people on top of a building being like, welcome. Not smart. Hey, if a ship does come to the planet, let's not line up,
I mean, you're either abducted or dead. So, like, if they got space weapons, can travel, got all the tech, whatever. But again, they wouldn't come here. Why would they come here? They don't care about us. They don't need to study us.
That's my issue with
aliens. It's like studying dirt.
That's my issue with aliens.
Especially
we focus so much on outer space when we actually need to focus on inner space. You and I took our beautiful daughter on my birthday to the aquarium, and like there are parts of our oceans that we have not explored.
We can't.
We could. If we can race the Russians to get to the moon, then we can.
Debatable.
Oh, yeah. Okay. Oh, we'll have to get into that next. But like we were looking at the, it wasn't the squid. What was it?
Jellyfish.
It was the jellyfish. Yeah.
It's an alien.
It's a freaking alien.
It's an alien. It has no purpose. Apparently, it's extremely intelligent.
Yes, but has no brain.
But has no brain.
And has no heart.
No heart. And somehow...
No, circulatory system.
I haven't actually looked it up, so I'm sure if I were to watch a video...
Well, we read the plaque. Yeah.
No, but I mean, I'm talking about how they eat.
Yeah, I think
There's kind of... What the heck was going on? It's just like dissolve it or something?
Plankton or something? I don't know. It'd have to be so
But where's
tiny.
it go?
Right?
We don't understand our own planet.
But
and that's
I
why
always
we're so
find... Have you ever been to a beach where there's just a ton of jellyfish dead?
No.
On the beach? In California, it's a thing. And I never understood that. So they might need a certain type of ecosystem to thrive. I don't know.
I mean, that would make sense. Maybe they're here for our resources, which are under the water. But that still doesn't make any sense why they would care about us,
right?
Groundwalkers.
Yeah.
But I will say this though.
I can't see her that well. Like
yeah,
that.
but the light.
Okay.
I will say this though. There is a theory that I find interesting.
Okay.
And we talked about this a while ago, but there's a theory out there that we, not reptilians, right? Because I don't believe in that. Do you? Before I get to the next thing.
Reptilians?
Yeah, like people like shapeshifters, reptilians. And
well, shapeshifting is a thing in Native American mythology and spirituality, but it's not the same as like a reptilian or people that,
Do you think that Justin
faces.
Bieber is a reptile alien?
I think if he is, he's a dick.
Apparently he's gone through this entire... I mean, I don't follow.
I met him when I worked back in the day at Saddlebags, Saddle Ranch in Universal Studios. And he just wasn't a nice person. But he was also very drunk. So,
But apparently he's gone through like
a metamorphosis.
I think it was like a religious awakening or something.
He's born
like that.
again,
Born
I think.
again, yeah.
Yeah.
So I don't know if that makes him a better person, but hopefully on a better
Well, he's a
spiritual
family
path.
man now, so, you know.
Hopefully.
I mean, I'm sure.
But why choose him other than
Right.
jealousy and envy
Right.
to be a reptilian figure? Like he would have to do something evil, right?
Yeah, I've seen footage. You and I we drank a little bit of the Kool-Aid when the pandemic hit. And there was this documentary, I can't remember which friend of yours sent it to us. It was quite disturbing. But it went into the reptilians and it shows footage. And the funny thing is people watch anything and they believe it.
Right.
And you and I both were like, well, that's
CGI.
easy. That's super easy.
You can do that in
That's
2 seconds.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's just like a lens flare just in the eyes.
People were like, you know,
Yeah, because the argument is that their eyes change.
when did Men in Black come out? When did Independence come out? There's 1990s movies and they
Right.
had believable visual effects.
Right?
So it's like, how long have we been able to do believable visual effects? Which goes back to what most people who don't believe we landed on the moon
Mm-hmm.
believe that Kubrick or somebody.
Well, if you've seen 2001: A Space Odyssey, which was Kubrick's
Kubrick,
movie,
And it was right before
it's
this.
incredibly stunning visually, you know. And the moon landing could have easily been on a set. It could have easily been on a set.
Yeah, supposedly there's people who have broken it down, said it's not physically possible to have shot it on a set. But we've worked the industry. It's physically possible to do anything on a set.
You know, I mean, I'm not of any particular camp of like it didn't happen.
Oh, neither am I.
You know? But I'm just like I'm open to that.
I believe it's
possibility. What do you
plausible.
guys think?
I believe it's
believe
plausible
in the
that they
moon landing?
lied. Mm-hmm. Oh, I'm sorry. Yeah. She's
You
asking.
wait. You think the government would lie? What was going on at that time? Like to distract people?
There's a lot of things going on at that time. Yeah.
Exactly.
Exactly.
Which we
but
need to
also-
remember when the government tries to tell us about the aliens coming up.
So that's what's happening right now is Pluto's going into Aquarius and it's going retrograde into Capricorn from Aquarius. So
Yeah.
that's one of their ploys. They're going to use Aquarian energy, which includes aliens
Yeah.
and technology, and fusing all that together to create
Something.
something to try to gain some of their power back.
Yeah.
And some people, it doesn't matter if you tell them that this is what they're going to do.
Yeah.
They're still going to, you know, they believe in aliens so much that they'll fall for it.
We've talked about this in the past where I think the danger of believing in aliens to this passionate extent that they're going to be saved by them, or that, you know, they're not actually human, that they belong on Mars or belong on another planet. I think it's the identity crisis is rampant in this country. I mean, in this planet, on this planet, but it also, we have this escapist sort of way of either with our social media or something like that. But the idea of being able to leave the planet, I mean, that's the ultimate, the grass is greener on another planet kind of thing.
Until you get there and you can't breathe.
Yeah. No. I'd be able to breathe.
Of course. All the conditions would be met.
Yeah.
And when you look at astrology, as Aquarius, the cusp line between Aquarius and Pisces, that's Uranus and Uranus and Neptune, right? So to transition from aliens into Neptune is escapism. So they actually go hand in hand. One leads to the other. One is the cause for the other.
And I truly believe, based on everything that's happened in the past, that the government or the elites, or, you know, I heard somebody say the other day that we should call them parasites instead of the elites.
They are.
Utilize astrology.
Of course they do. I talk about this all the time.
Yeah.
JP Morgan of Chase Bank allegedly did a lot of bad things, including the Titanic and all that. You know, his role supposedly in the Titanic.
No, I didn't.
Is that he's part of the reason why
sabotaged it,
and he got certain people off, made sure all of his competitors were on, and that's actually how he
that's
took
not
over.
what happened in the movie.
Yeah,
So.
of course not. But regardless,
I believe that the heart does. Go. You've seen that? Didn't you see her do that at the Oscars when she hit her chest? I was like,
oh,
ow.
I believe.
Yeah, I was like, what is she giving herself a hypodermic needle? Because she was so skinny. I was a teenager. I was immature.
Anyway, I forget what I was talking about.
Astrology
JP
and
Morgan.
the elites. Yeah.
Anyway, people like him used astrology to align their risks. And his quote was, and it's been written a couple of times, that in different ways. So it's either millionaires don't need astrology, billionaires do, or millionaires don't use astrology, billionaires do. But in the same kind of context is that the people who have the most money had to take their risks and align it with the stars to make sure that they gained massive amounts of money. And that's the main like vibe with that, is that about that quote. And people don't want to believe it because they don't want to believe in astrology. But I also believe a lot of things with astrology.
I think they also count on that.
I believe that, but I also believe that they've like put out all these house systems. I believe that they put out all these different things.
Misdirection.
To really, and I've been battling that on social media.
Yeah.
And I'm like, look, at this point, I'm kind of like, look, I don't really care. I'm just going to teach you what works, and you can use what works. We use what works.
Yeah. The other day, I think I told you this, but a friend of mine put up a post. It was a story, and it said that Pisces is ruled by Jupiter. And I was like, what the fuck? And I asked you about it. You're like, yeah, that's another school of thought. I was like, that doesn't make
traditional
any sense.
So before Uranus, Neptune, and Pluto were discovered, Jupiter was the co-ruler of Pisces, or was the ruler of Pisces. Saturn ruled Saturn ruled Aquarius. And then what's the one? What am I missing?
But see, that's the problem. Why would they keep that system if it's
because
antiquated?
they don't believe that the new planets
count
are the rulers of those. But to be fair, there's a newer school of system, which is completely ridiculous as well, that takes Chiron as the ruler of Virgo. It makes no sense. No sense whatsoever.
Yeah.
What is the third one? There's 3. Uranus, Aquarius, Pluto, and Scorpio. They think that Mars rules Scorpio. Doesn't. And the thing is, if you really get into what Mars and Scorpio mean, Mars is on the low end, anger, aggression, but it's very outward. Scorpio is rage, but it's the ruler of the underworld, and it's very internalized and hidden. Yeah. So they're completely different. Yeah. If you take
like Scorpio rage is vindictive. Yeah. You know.
And Aries
or
Mars is straight outright. Reactionary and gets over it quick. Scorpio doesn't. If you take
they hold a grudge.
If you take Aquarius, Aquarius was ruled by Saturn, is ruled by Uranus. Saturn is all about traditions and structure. Uranus and solid things that don't budge. Uranus is about erraticism. It's why it rules lightning, and it is all about destroying structure to rebuild it. It's revolution.
So here's my question to you. Do you think that aliens use astrology?
I don't think aliens exist.
Okay.
I mean, I don't think that we are alone per se, and I think that's why people gravitate. We can't be alone. I have that school of thought too. Yeah. But if life does exist, I would believe in mirror dimensions and like not cloned, like exactly the same, but other solar systems that have Earth.
Well, do you want to hear what I believe?
No. So as I
Nice.
Yes, I do.
She moved when you said no.
Go ahead.
Mommy has things to say too. So there are many, many theories and many schools of thought. Right. But when it comes to the pyramids and like these amazing structures like Göbekli Tepe, which is in Turkey, and they found one in the United States, these ancient looking temples. They look like Mayan temples too, which makes no sense because they had no correspondence back then, you know.
So we know of.
Well, yeah, that's very true. That's very true. But there's a theory that the entire world or these areas were underwater. And it was
Atlantis stuff.
Atlantis,
but the other way around.
Exactly. But you were able to build these structures because you were underwater. So it was much simpler. You know, the idea that the aliens built the pyramids, I don't like so much as Fuck yeah, it was underwater civilizations, and that's what happened. Because, and the really cool thing is, in a lot of these historical temples, somewhere around there are these huge salt rings. Like, it doesn't make any sense. There had to be a body of water there. Now, it could have been,
could have been flooded.
Yeah, but you wouldn't get that kind of salt, what's the word? Like, conjugation, it wouldn't have that big of an impact if it was just flooding. It would have to be under.
Yeah, but if it's under, the salt rings are at the base.
The salt rings are in the middle of like Africa. In the middle of Africa, there are these salt rings all over the planet. It doesn't make sense.
Well, we know the tectonic plates and shifting and.
Yes, and we know that we had a supposed event, what is it, supposedly like 200,000 years ago, 12,000 years ago, I have no idea. But the timelines of humanity, I think, are way, way off.
Oh yeah, we're like, we just carbon dated it. I think your carbon dating's a really bad guessing game.
And we've forgotten how powerful we are.
Yeah, it's true.
I truly believe that we were created, or we were conditioned to be subservient and like,
of course,
enslaved in a way.
Of course, every single civilization has always had a ruler.
Yeah.
Every single one of them.
Yeah.
A chief, a ruler, an emperor, a president, every single one, because we are meant to serve a god, a deity. We're conditioned that way. And
we're conditioned that way. Yeah, I don't believe we're meant to.
Well, that's what I mean. Is we're conditioned to believe that. But
I believe that we're meant to work in harmony with those energies.
I don't know. I want to believe that. I don't know that I believe that.
That's okay.
I want to believe a more utopian version of this.
It's not so much utopian.
But why would we ever...
Okay.
Why would we ever allow, collectively as numbers, it's a numbers game. How do you let one person take over? How?
Yeah.
How can one person have the power to do that?
Well, it comes from the promise of systems, organization, and progression. The idea that as a society, if we come together and we choose a leader, the person that we trust, we don't have to worry about making those decisions, and we can just lead our lives, And back then it was like, okay, because I've got 6 kids, and no, I just understand how it happened.
Okay.
I understand. And also going back to faith, like when you're talking about tribes, there are, in Native American tribes, the people that become chief, or the medicine women or the medicine men, the shamans, they go through excruciating trials. Like, shamans will literally like pull the skin to their bone so that they can be so close and understand death and decay. And you know what? If I was in that society, I'd be like, I'm cool.
Yeah, they can do it.
I know about herbs, but I don't want to pull my skin off. Thanks.
So basically, these people are crazy.
I don't think they're crazy.
And that's why they become tyrants. And that's why...
Well, in terms of the tribes, it was believed that you had to have order. You had to have an understanding.
That's always there. That's the Capricorn energy.
Yeah.
There will always be structure.
Well, order, it is relative to a person's concept of it, like there are different governmental structures, there are different ways of doing it. The each man to themselves, I don't think is safe. The one of the reasons why order was so sexy is it was like the Old West. Anybody could rape and pillage and steal what they wanted, and you had 2 cops in town who could maybe chase them down, but they could go anywhere and be free, and they're like, well, we're gonna have a fire department, we're gonna have schools, we're gonna have this, we're gonna have so much structure that your life just becomes easier. And that's the illusion of technology too, that our lives have become easier, when in actuality there are more depressed people than ever before, and more people fantasizing about leaving Earth as a result. You know? I mean,
there's a lot. I mean, that's a very, very layered and nuanced discussion to have.
Yes, absolutely.
Because it's not just technology. The problem has become the instant access to
the instant gratification to
well, there's
everything.
that, but there's the instant access to information without any vetting done.
Yeah,
and
that's part of it.
And the information that is put in front of most people is either from depressed other people who are seeking validation, then it becomes this pity party off of misinformation, or it's done under a capitalist, and I'm definitely not anti-capitalism, but like a capitalist corruption where appropriate information is not favored, but how much the person who is putting it out paid to get it.
Well, there was a gentleman who was in New Guinea for several years, and he went from trying to get these tribal people to come to America and live better lives, because he saw that they were living in squalor, or that's what he thought. And when he offered them places to stay, they were like, why would we come to America? Isn't that where people jump off of buildings? Suicide is not a thing in Africa. It is not a thing within these tribes. It's never a concept. And his depression, his concept of life completely shifted after he was with them for at least a year, because their lives, that became simple. The men would leave during the day to go hunt. The women would gather, get berries. When the men came home at night, everybody danced and celebrated.
But do you really want to live like that?
Not everyone does.
Yeah, okay.
But the idea is, the point is that he was able to cure his depression.
Society
like
is a huge issue.
Yeah, well, conditioning, I think, is a huge issue.
And
it's much easier to condition us.
So it's also
social
acceptance.
Media and
it's also a matter of acceptance. And I've also noticed that the people who believe more and more and more about aliens are the ones who feel not socially accepted.
Yes. Yeah, it's
an escapist.
That's why I said identity crisis.
Like you said.
It's really, they don't know who they are, so they assume that they're aliens. There has to be something alien about me, as opposed to just being an individual.
Or there has to be somebody not on this planet that is like me.
Yeah.
Or will accept me.
Yeah.
So, and on that, what I was going to say much earlier is that there's a theory that we, all of us, not reptilian, not whatever the other ones are, but we all are aliens.
From Mars.
The human race is from Mars.
Yeah.
That we are foreign to this planet, and that this happened over a very long period of time. But Mars used to be Earth. I mean, Mars was always Mars, but it was our Earth as a species, and that it moved too far away from the sun, got really cold, iced over, and we moved over to Earth and started civilization here. And it wasn't primed yet, so we kind of had our famine and everything, and then we've evolved and we've come to what we are today. And eventually in the future, we will be moving to Venus, which won't be a gas, whatever. And you can see that Venus is forming land masses. So Venus will then become the new Earth. And the reason that supports this theory is like, we are the only species to have trouble giving birth on this planet.
See, I don't think people have trouble giving birth.
Well, okay. So I'm going to move past that, but that's one.
Yeah.
Another one is that we are one of the only species that gets sunburn for being too close to the sun. Like the Earth is still a little too close compared to where Mars was.
Okay.
We're one of the only species with back problems.
When we are nourished and when we are rested,
we still get sunburn, even when we are hydrated.
Not to the degree.
No, right? You can help prevent it, but we still get sunburn.
They would get sunburn, but they didn't get skin cancer.
Well, skin cancer is a whole other conversation.
Yeah.
Skin cancer comes from the chemicals you put on your skin, not the sun.
And what's in the food, but yeah.
Yes. Back problems, which has to do with the fact that Earth's mass is larger than Mars.
I think that has a lot to do, I'm just having fun with this. I think it has a lot to do with the fact that we don't move our spines properly.
No, this has been even when, prior to current day. Mankind has always had back issues. If you look into the earliest, like, what do you call them? Basically back braces. They're extremely old.
Okay.
So, and that the theory is that it's because Earth has a bigger gravitational pull than Mars ever did. And the reason why we believe we can fly and jump higher is because in past lives on a different planet, we could, because the gravity was much less. So, and there's more to it, but those are like the main bullet points that I can think of. But there's a whole like list of things of why the theory is supported. And they're talking about trying to recolonize Mars, when if this theory is true, we left Mars because it was not suitable for us to live anymore and came here.
You couldn't inhabit.
It technically, we're way too far. This is way too far in the future, but we would go to Venus next, because the theory is that everything's spreading out.
Yeah, and I think it's unfortunate because this planet that we're on is miraculous. I don't believe that we were ever on Mars, because this planet is made to heal us. When you connect with nature, and like just by putting our bare feet on the ground, on dirt or grass, what have you, you get negative ions. Your nervous system gets relaxed. Your blood improves.
Why couldn't that be?
I mean,
Mars could
be on every planet, if that's what you're hypothesizing.
No, the theory is that Earth looked like Venus.
Okay.
Back in the day.
Yeah.
When I'm talking a long ass time ago.
Yeah.
And Mars looked like Earth. Green, blue, plants, ions, all the stuff. It's just as it went, the planet was just decaying.
But what about all the plants and everything that is here that is literally have systems within them that are of no benefit to them, but to human beings or to the animals that consume them?
Well, that's what I'm talking about, is that...
You're saying that all of that is on the other planets?
Was.
I think that's too easy.
Why? We know that life comes from single-cell organisms.
Yes, but to have all the same plants... Okay, so...
I didn't say they were the same.
Okay.
I just said that there were plants, there were animals.
Okay. But what I love about the Earth is, like, in this area where we are, you can find medicine for any ailment.
Right, but what I'm saying is that would have existed on Mars.
Okay, but let me continue. In another province, in another part of the world, you can find the same properties within the plants, but the plants are completely different. So they're created for each ecosystem.
Yeah, and that would have existed on Mars as well.
Okay.
Mars was Earth, is what I'm saying.
No, I understand what you're saying.
Meaning it looked the same.
I don't believe it.
It had all the plants.
I don't believe it.
Why? Why would that be? If everything comes from a single cell, why would that be so difficult to believe? How did we get these plants on Earth in the first place?
I think it's too easy to believe that we already had that on another planet.
How did we get it on this planet?
I mean, there are many different beliefs.
Where did they come from? I'm talking millions of years.
Yeah. No, I understand.
Yeah.
Yeah. I think as animals evolved and humans evolved, so did the plants and everything around us.
Yeah, but where did they come from in the first place?
I mean...
Earth always had plants from the beginning of time?
Is that so far-fetched?
Yeah. Always has to be. There's a cycle.
Plants. Not the same plants.
Right, but who made the first plant?
Nobody. The Earth did.
Who made the Earth?
I believe that the Earth, Mother Earth, is a powerful spiritual
I believe that
entity.
too, but I don't believe Mother Earth has been around since the dawn of time.
Oh, see, I do.
How? Who there has to be a start.
Yeah, I mean...
I don't believe the Big Bang Theory, by the way. Okay. But I don't believe that stuff was just here, always has been.
No, I think she evolved over time, and as she evolved...
From what?
From goddess energy.
Where did that come from?
It could have been from a combusted planet.
Where did that come from?
Which formed us.
I'm just saying, like, what's at the beginning?
You're a toddler. You're a fucking toddler right now.
I'm just saying, what's at the beginning? There had to be a start.
But see...
Scientifically speaking, there's a start.
But that's speaking scientifically. Why does everything have to be scientific?
Everything has to be physical, mental, emotional, and spiritual. So science goes into the physical realm.
But if creation is a spiritual thing...
It's not solely a spiritual thing.
But
right, I'm talking about the spirit. I understand the spiritual aspect, but where did the first spirit come from? I mean, those are, we will never be able to answer this, but I'm just saying that it's more
well, that's
like,
the other thing when it comes
I don't know that I believe we came from Mars, by the way. I'm just saying that it's the most plausible theory I have heard.
It's an interesting theory. I don't think it's plausible, but I think it's an interesting theory. And that's another thing, going to spirits, like when you have interactions with energies, you know, that come as shapes or people, or, you know, who's to say that those aren't alien experiences that people are having and they're...
Right, that's kind of what we were alluding to at the beginning.
Yeah.
Even my own experience.
Yeah.
I didn't see aliens. I saw shadow figures shaped like aliens.
Yeah.
So
and
we
it's
don't know
interesting that pretty much
they're not
everyone
the
always
same.
sees aliens sort of in the same way.
Mm-hmm. Which are basically almost the same as shadow people and different types of spirits.
And when I see orbs that scare me, they're green, you know, which is a alien color.
Mm-hmm. Star seeds.
Oh, okay.
Now, we went down this rabbit hole for a very short time.
A very short time, yeah.
Because we noticed some interesting
Well, I was
things.
reading it to you and I was like, this just sounds like a Pisces. This just sounds like, but from what I did research it, and it's been around for thousands of years, Pleiadians and Syrian star seeds and all these things.
Yeah, but if you go to them, it's like it's kind of like religion, where they're all the same. Mm-hmm. But it's just, here's the stories for this one, here's the stories for this one. You get Muhammad, you get Jesus, you get whoever.
Yeah.
It's that kind of thing, because you look at it, you're like, okay, Arcturian, those are clearly Aquarians. Palladians, like you said, are Pisces.
Yeah.
Andromedons are Geminis. I can't remember the rest of them, but they all line up to what what's that?
Atlanteans, you know, I mean, any
I
of the
can't
ancient civilizations.
They all,
also in
well, not
there.
the civilization, but the star seeds I'm talking about. All the star seeds lined up with the zodiac sign.
Yeah, but when you talk to people that believe these things, they're like, oh, well, I'm a Syrian starseed, also Arcturian, and I have lineage connected to, you know, some sort of ancient civilization.
So my question to that is why?
Identity. That's what I think.
They feel lost. It gives them something to ground themselves to.
I think also it's popularity. I think when things are intriguing and sound fun, and, you know, you can take a quiz and find it out, or you find a book that's really touching and you're like, oh, that connects to my story in this life, and it could have been in a previous life. I think that it's very easy to, you know, introduce these ideas to people and then grasp them with all their might when they have no idea. I mean, there are some people who are just very dynamic and are like, this is who I am too. You know, I'm also this, but it's not a big deal. Yeah. So it's, I mean, it's not hurting anyone, but. Okay.
It's not hurting anyone.
You think it's hurting people?
I think it's hurting themselves sometimes.
Yeah. Well, yeah. But that's usually what people are contented doing is, you know,
we do
self-flagellating.
As a species. Yep. We definitely have self-deprecation as...
Yeah. I mean, it's baked into our DNA after, you know... I mean, can you think of a time in history when man didn't betray itself?
Oh, no. I mean, betrayal is, you know, a theme.
Yeah.
That's the thing. It will always be a theme. Like, some people think that there's this utopian existence out there, and it's not. You would be taking away different energies that need to exist in the same pot.
I'm sorry. I've seen Encanto. Okay, and that's pretty great.
Encanto?
Yeah, the mountains are too high for anybody to come to their beautiful area, and the little boy has a room full of jungle animals that don't kill him.
Yeah, but they also hated each other, hated their own lives.
Yeah, well, I mean, that's just part of family. But
I don't know if there's anything else to like to talk about with this. I know that, like, so for instance, we had dealt with a couple of people who believed that there was a global reset coming, and that there was a satellite developed by aliens that was going to be the artificial intelligence that ruled all of our transactions, financial systems, and everything. And it's just part of this whole New World Order.
Well, that
global
part
reset.
isn't so far-fetched because these people have literally used that term many, many times.
No, I'm not talking about the term NWO. I'm talking about they believe that the aliens are leading the way.
I think that comes from a very difficult perspective of not wanting to believe that people can be evil and do awful, terrible things.
No, these are coming. I mean, I do know that there's a lot of people who have that issue because they write off, they refuse to see the truth that there's a wide spectrum between good and evil and that pure evil does exist. No, this is people who actually believe that there's evil out there, but that aliens are here to help us and move us forward.
Great.
Kind of like the dark side of the moon.
How?
Why would aliens be sitting on the dark side of the moon just chilling?
That's fascinating, though. Like
how? Why? What's the why? I always need to know why. Why are they there?
No, just the fact that it's never been photographed.
It has been photographed.
But you can't see it. It's not lit like the.
It is lit.
Side.
It's just it's not.
I mean, I've seen photographs, supposed photographs of tunnels and civilizations.
Yeah, of course.
Yeah.
All right. The moon sits here. The Earth sits here, and the sun sits here. As the moon goes around, we don't see the lit side, which is what creates the phases.
Yeah.
But the sun is always hitting the moon
yes.
except for during a new moon.
Yeah. I'm aware.
Right. So there is no dark side of the moon. It's just that we don't see that side because it's geosynchronous orbit. Mm-hmm. So like anyone who's watching who thinks that there's literally a dark side of the moon, come on, physics, and just if you take the moon and you put it over here, the sun is shining on that side of the moon. Yeah. I just want to clear that up.
It's just another one of those things where anything that seems unknown or out of reach, you know, like there are certain places on this planet that are foreign to me and magnificent, and I would love to go one day and learn its secrets. But
hopefully find a dragon, you know, just whatever the day
definitely find a dragon. Yeah. Okay. Wake my dragon and then fly with my family on the dragon. Because of course my family has to be with me. It's not the dream unless we all get to ride a dragon or the same dragon. It's okay. I'm sure there'll be multiple dragons for us. But we should do a whole podcast on dragons.
My mind goes to like how are we creating saddles for these dragons? Are these dragons small?
Okay, first of all,
like are they like tiny dragons and we're like sitting there
first
like
of all,
this on top of a tiny dragon? It's like
that's offensive to
which part?
I mean, all of it was offensive. No, the dragons will, like, I of course will have the brightest colored dragon, you know, the prettiest, the most majestic, and you know, the kids will fly with me on. You can ride on this one too.
No, I want the black dragon. No, I want the white dragon.
Okay, well, I mean, which is it?
I want the white dragon.
You want the white dragon?
I want the dragon of light.
Okay, honey. Okay.
Yeah.
And then, do you want to have one of the girls on the white dragon, or do you want me to take?
No,
the
you
kids?
take the girls. The way I'm gonna fly my dragon is not safe.
Can we take turns?
No, it's my dragon. I want to
fly my dragon my way too. Why do you get to do all spinny spins and I can't do it?
Just buckle them, put them in the carrier.
You get an hour with your dragon doing whatever.
An hour?
Yeah.
I'm gonna be gone.
I have your children. I know you're coming back. I know you love us.
Are we done with aliens? Is that like all we've got?
I think so. I mean,
we don't talk that much about aliens, you and I personally.
It really doesn't.
It never, I don't, the funny thing is I am an outcast and I've never felt like I belonged in society, but I've never turned to aliens as my escape.
No.
And I have an Aquarius moon. I have a lot of 11th house energy.
I've joked about being a mermaid and, you know.
You actually identify with that kind of stuff though.
Yeah. 100%.
Yeah, I don't.
I mean, I'm also Danish, so the myth of the mermaid or the story of the mermaid comes from my people. So, you know.
I've never had it. I don't have much that I identify with in general.
I mean,
Part of not knowing who I am. Hip hop?
The hippity hop.
Not anymore. I used to.
You still, I mean.
A little bit.
Yeah. You identify with being awesome.
With just wanting to build my empire.
Yeah.
So smart.
So smart.
I think that's all we have for aliens.
I think that's all we got for aliens, guys. I can't think of
what other people talk about with aliens.
Yeah, I mean, there's
starseeds don't make much sense to me. We talked about technology,
the temples, the pyramids, and all that stuff. Those shows.
And the thing with the pyramids is like, just because we don't understand how they did it doesn't mean they didn't do it.
Right.
Even if it was on land.
You're talking about humans. Yeah, absolutely. I mean, there are so many advances that man used to have. Like Nikola Tesla figured out how to do
renewable energy.
And
of course, he's gone and poor, and they made sure of that.
They made sure of that, yeah. Elvis is like, I know how to do it. There is going to be an emergence of new technologies that will be suppressed, but there are people who have been working on it for a long time.
Yeah. They're already talking about it, like the ocean cleanup and stuff like that. They would rather push climate change than actually fix the problems.
Well, there's that billionaire who
there was there's like a 12-year-old child or 14 or something like that who had figured it out like a decade ago.
Yeah.
And no one knows what happened to that kid. And they push these agendas so that they can get their money.
Yeah.
And they can keep people in fear and fighting each other.
So please be careful, guys, when they start talking about aliens. Like the minute the government openly talks about aliens.
Yeah, there's an agenda behind it.
Mm-hmm. What are we being distracted from?
Yep, it's always a distraction.
Open your eyes.
Open your eyes.
We'll see you in another life when we are both.
All right, assuming they don't come after us, we'll catch you guys on the next time.
No, that's not going to happen. We're safe. Stop it.
See y'all next time.
Just in case, we live in Peru, so,
I'm trying to sign off here.
Yeah.
You want to sign off?
No, go ahead and sign off.
Let them know we're done.
This has been another episode of Mystic Rebels. We just talked about aliens. Ah! Let us know what you guys thought about the episode, what you believe. Again, we're just sharing what we believe, and we're trying not to judge people.
We're very open to other people believing whatever they want.
Yeah.
Even if it didn't sound like that.
And we're also very open to people making their case.
Yeah.
So this will be an interesting comment section. And let us know other concepts and, topics that you'd like us to tackle. And we'll get on it.
Okay, bye.
Okay, bye.